So the Ein Yaakov of today, it speaks about the prophet Isaiah and the king Hezekiah. So the righteous king Hezekiah of Yehuda, king of Judah, did not get married because he saw in a vision that he would have a corrupt children. Isaiah chided him, chastised him, reproved him that he had no right meddling in God's affairs. He had an obligation to get married, but he's getting involved in God's affairs by saying, hey, but I know already the outcome of this marriage. I know what's going to happen, and therefore, I'm not interested in getting married. And that, as a result of failing to fulfill the command to multiply, he would become sick and die. When he became deathly ill, he prayed fervently to God, very strongly, prayed to Hashem, and was told by Isaiah that 15 years had been added to his life because of his strong prayer. From here we learn the concept of afilu cherev chada munachat al tzavaro shel adam al yityaesh min harachamim. Even if you have a sword that is placed on your neck, which is pretty much, there's not much to do at that point, he said that person should not give up on his life. In other words, even if God forbid somebody is told that he has very few days or whatever the doctors are telling him, he should never give up because Hashem can make miracles. Al yityaesh min harachamim, should never give up on mercy. Hashem is Ava Rachamim, is the Father of all mercies, so he has abundant of mercies. So Isaiah received another 15 years to his life. Hezekiah then married, Hezekiah had another 15 years to his life. Isaiah is the one that told him that he should not get involved in God's affairs. Isaiah was the prophet, Hezekiah was the king. So when he became deathly ill, he prayed fervently to God, and he was told by Isaiah that 15 years had been added to his life. Hezekiah then married Isaiah's daughter. Now Hezekiah is marrying the prophet's daughter. The king is marrying the prophet's daughter. And they had a son. And what's the name of the son? Menashe. The name of the son is Menashe, who was thoroughly, wait till you hear what he did, who was thoroughly depraved and even killed his grandfather Isaiah. In the end, Menashe did tshuva. We learned, Rabbi Shimon ben Azai said, I found a scroll in Yerushalayim, in Jerusalem, in which the lineage of families was recorded, the dynasties. And it was written, so-and-so is a mamzer, meaning so-and-so was born from illegitimate marriage. An offspring of a married woman adulterous union. In other words, she was married and she went with another person. There was also written in that scroll, the teaching of Rabbi Eliezer ben Yaakov is small but pure. The teaching of Rabbi Eliezer ben Yaakov. It is mentioned infrequently, but wherever it is mentioned, the halacha is according to him, to Rabbi Eliezer ben Yaakov. It is also said there, King Menashe killed the prophet Isaiah, who was his grandfather. Menashe was angered by Isaiah's prophecy of the impending destruction of Yerushalayim. Why did he kill him? Because Isaiah came to him and told him a prophecy. He was a prophet. He had to give him the prophecy. So he went to the king, and he told the king Menashe that the temple is going to be destroyed. He wasn't happy about it and killed him. Rava said Menashe put Isaiah on trial on the trumped up charge of being false prophet. Told me you're a false prophet. and then had him executed. Menashe said to Isaiah, your teacher, Moshe Rabbeinu, your teacher Moses said, a man cannot see me and still exist. Kelo irani adam v'chai. A man cannot see me and still exist. Yet you say, Isaiah is telling about his grandfather, I saw the Lord sitting upon a high and lofty throne. The prophecy of Isaiah. He says, I saw the Lord sitting upon a high and lofty throne. Your teacher Moshe said, what nation is so great that they have God too close to it? As God, our Lord. Whenever we call Him, God is close to us. Bechol koreinu elav. Whenever we're close to Hashem, He's close to us. And you say, Kiru Hashem b'imatzo, kara'u be'oto karov. Seek God when He can be found. Call upon Him when He is near. So He's not always accessible. In other words, he is trying to prove to his grandfather during this trumped up trial that his grandfather is a false prophet. And he's proving it by saying that you said that you saw God, and it says clearly that no one can see God and still be alive. If you saw God, you wouldn't be here. And number two, it says that Hashem is close. Hashem is close to us whenever we call Him.
No.
And you made it sound like He's not so accessible. So is He accessible, is close to us, or is not close to us? Moshe, your teacher, said, and he continues, he goes on, I will make you live out full lives. Yet, it's from the book of Chumash Shemot, from the book of Exodus 23:26. Yet you said to my father Hezekiah, thus said God, I am going to add 15 years to your life. He's speaking about what Isaiah said to Hezekiah, that he's going to give him, that Hashem granted him another 15 years. If his time is up there, can be in no additional years? Isaiah then said to himself, I know that no matter what I tell him, there's no way I'm getting out of it. Whatever I'm going to tell him, Menashe will not accept it. And if I did answer, and he executes me, he would be guilty of willful murder. Now at least he thinks that he was justified in snatching me to death. In sentencing me to death. So Isaiah uttered the divine name, and he was swallowed up by a cedar tree. They brought in the cedar and began to saw it. So they figured he disappeared into this cedar tree. So they were cutting up the cedar.
To see if he's there.
When they saw reached Isaiah's mouth, he died. This was his punishment. Why? For speaking about Israel in disparaging terms, saying, not on God's orders, but in other words, he went on with the criticism on the Jewish people. And that was his punishment. I dwell among people with impure lips. He says, I'm dwelling among people that have impure lips. That was his Isaiah's statement. So punishment, obviously Menashe didn't have to be the messenger to execute his own grandfather, but he was the one that ended up doing it. The Gemara asked, but what about the contradictory verses about which Menashe questioned Isaiah? He says, now okay, let's deal with logically now about his arguments that he brought up. The Gemara answers, the fact that Isaiah said, I saw the Lord, can be explained by the following braita. All the prophet looked through a dim glass, meaning they didn't see it clearly. The glass was dim. And thought they saw divinity, but they did not. But Moses looked through a clear glass and understood that he could not see God, even though he had the capability of seeing through a spaklaria amira, through a clear glass. He understood that he could not see God. Regarding Isaiah's description, see God when he can be found, this verse applies to an individual for whom there are special times when God is more accessible, like the time of Elul. Dirshu Hashem Beimatzo is referring to the month of Elul, where God is more accessible, the month of Teshuvah. The other verse, Deuteronomy 4:7, which implies that God is accessible at all time, Melo kol haaretz kevodo, Hashem's honor is always there, applies to communal prayer. This is the answer why you need to be in shul. It applies to communal prayer. The Gemara asks, when is the special time for an individual? Rabbi Nachman replied, in the name of Rabbi ben Abua, during the 10 days between Rosh Hashanah and Yom Kippur. So these 10 days, Aseret Yemei Teshuvah, 10 days of repentance, are very special times. Special time for an individual. We learned that during these 10 days, an individual has the power of the congregation. Usually, in order for your prayers to be answered, you need the congregation praying together. Then your prayers are answered. You can have your prayers be answered individually, but it's harder. You need to have a lot of merits on your side. But when you pray with the congregation, your prayers are answered. But during the 10 days of Teshuvah, individual prayer, even if you pray by yourself, you still have the power of the congregation. With regards to I will make you live out full lives, how could Hezekiah be given 15 additional years when his time was up? If the time is up, the time is up. How is it possible that he received additional 15 years? There is a disagreement among Tanaim, among the sages, for we learned in a braita. Rabbi Akiva expounded, I will make you live out full lives. It says in Mispar Yamecha Amaleh, I'll make you live full lives, refer to the number of years a person is allotted at birth. Mispar Yamecha Amaleh, you live full life, it was whatever you were granted at birth. It was already determined how many years so and so would live. If he deserves it, he is allowed to live out those years, if he is deserving. If he is unworthy, some of those years are taken away. But the sages said, if he deserves it, years are added to his life. Full lives means additional years. If he is unworthy, his lifespan is shortened. They said to Rabbi Akiva, you say it is impossible to add to the allotted years, but it says, I am going to add 15 years to your life, to Hezekiah's life, implying an addition to the allotted years. Replied Rabbi Akiva, this means that the years that were deducted from Hezekiah's lifespans were given back to him. So originally, he had a certain amount of years to live. Let's say he was supposed to live for 100 years. So 15 years was taken away from him because that he didn't get married. But Torah says, be fruitful and multiply. He didn't want to have kids because whatever he felt that he's going to have a wicked children or wicked son. So so heavenly decree decided he didn't do his part of getting married. Not your business. You got to make an effort, obviously, that your children will come out right. But you can't say, I'm not going to get married because of who knows what children I'm going to have. I will prove to you that these 15 years were allotted to him when he was born. That's what Rabbi Akiva says to them. Because a prophet foretold in the days of Yerovam many generations earlier. Behold, a son will be born into the house of David. Josiah will be his name. Now, Menashe was Josiah's grandfather, was not yet born, which his father Hezekiah became terminally ill, and was informed that he would live for another 15 years. So the original years allotted to Hezekiah at his birth extended past the years of his illness to include the years of Menashe's birth. And the 15 years that were added were the ones that had been taken away earlier. And what about the rabbis? How do they explain that additional new years were added to Hezekiah's life? They will answer, does it then say the prophet said, a son will be born to Hezekiah? No, it says a son will be born to the house of David. The son, Josiah, could be born from Hezekiah and from someone else of the house of David. This is the Ein Yaakov for today. Bruchim Tov.